Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks, to The Hungry Gamer is back with another, another list. I'm going to keep doing that, and eventually it's going to not be stupid. Maybe. Probably not. But that's what's going to happen. So I just got back from Origins last night. You can probably hear my voice is a little bit ragged. I was helping run some demos a few places and just having, all in all, a really good time. So let's jump in and start there. The convention itself. This is the first time I've been back since the pandemic. I went the year before the pandemic, and then obviously it was canceled next year, and this is my first time going back. And overall, I was pretty darn impressed. Again, just like with the other cons, people were following the rules and wearing their masks. And it was very rare that I saw people taking them off. And when they were, it was when they were off somewhere on their own with their group of people. And so I really can't complain about that. It was very, very clear that they were following rules for making sure people had their vaccination records and all of that stuff. You had to have a green wristband the entire time, and just all that really, really well done. As with the last time I was at Origins, the space was pretty well laid out. And really, I can't complain. Lots of space to where you're able to play games, sit down, and all of that. So kudos to Origins for, all in all, a really well-run, well-put-together convention. Now, I'm going to add something this time, something I haven't done before. Not only am I going to give you my top 5 games from the convention, I'm also going to give you my top 5 moments. These are just literally the things that have stuck with me the most, whether they are ridiculous, heartwarming, none of them are heartwarming, but fun, whatever, that the memories that I'm really, really taking away from this convention. And we'll see how that goes. Now, odds are, most of you are not here for that taradiddle, right? You are here to find out about some games that are coming up that you should be checking out. So if that is the case, then you want to bounce ahead right to this timestamp and just find out about the games. But for the soft-hearted, sensitive folk like me, let's jump into my top 5 moments from the con. Now, I'm listing this as in a list of 5, but there's really no order to them, whereas the games have a specific order. But so jumping right in, the first one I'm going to talk about is spending some time at the Chip Theory Games booth. So I went to the Chip Theory Games booth. I have all the games that I need and want from Chip Theory Games, at least for the moment. There could be more stuff, but I have it all. And I walked through once, just kind of seeing what everything looked like. I did stop. I made a point to stop and look at the Burn Cycle brass minis, which I do not have. I am not going to buy. I do not need them, but they are very cool. That's all I'd done. And then I got a message from Mark Dainty, not Board Gaming, who's in the UK, and he said, "Can you go to the Chip Theory Games booth and buy me some of their coffee? Because we can't get the coffee in the UK. And along with the coffee comes a little booster pack with an alternate art Too Many Bones character chip." So I'm like, okay, fine. So I went over there and I'm buying these, and what was immediately made her my favorite Chip Theory Games person ever, they recognized me. It was like, "Oh, you're the guy who eats the box. Oh, that's cool." We were chatting about it, and so I bought the coffee. And then Shannon Wedge from Chip Theory Games told me to get my butt back over there and open the booster packs at the cashier and then throw a fit and say, "These weren't the ones I wanted," which all in all was just fun, and everyone was kind of in on the fun and enjoying it. But at the same time, while I'm doing that, a guy comes up and drops like 6 more pounds of coffee on the table, and he looked a little bit sheepish, and he's like, "Well, I didn't get the character that my wife was hoping for, and she said we'll drink the coffee eventually, so just go buy some more." And I just thought that was the funniest darn thing I'd ever seen. So my number 5 memory moment is hanging out with Chip Theory Games, just briefly. And I will also say, I have, thanks to Chip Theory Games, they actually sent me home with an extra copy of Undertow. I already have Undertow, but they sent me home with a copy of Undertow to do as a giveaway on the channel. That is coming, so if you haven't subscribed, you better subscribe so you can get a free copy of Undertow. Maybe. So, my number 4 is one that you're going to hear me talk a lot about for the next few weeks, as long as I'm hitting conventions, because I'm intimately involved with this game. But my number 4 is playing Lunar Rush at midnight on the last evening after the con in the pub with Bree from Lucky Duck Games, Jerry from Grey Fox Games, and reviewer Grant Lyon. And I didn't actually play. I was just kind of there coaching Bree. So she was my champion. And then Brendan's champion was Grant, and Bernie's champion was Jerry. And what's important to remember here is that Bree won. Because of course Bree won. Because I am better at the game than Bernie and Brendan. Boom! It's on the internet. It is now true. But I had such a blast kind of just watching them play through the game and just kind of being there and just the laughing and joking and, having drinks as we're playing. And it was just a fantastic, fantastic way to end the convention. We were all just exhausted and then we're up till 2 a.m. last night, but just wonderful, wonderful time. I loved it. Next one. You've heard me talk about Streamline Matt. You haven't heard me talk about Streamline Matt's fiance, who is awesome, an incredible artist, by the way. And so I had just sent a picture of this ridiculous 6-foot-tall dice tower to both of them, and she responded, "Oh, can you get me some dice?" I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I started going onto the fancy dice booth and sending pictures. Like, no, I don't want those. Not those. Those are too expensive. Not those. And I wound up over at the Wormwood booth. And I'm there, and this guy there is just helping me out to the last day. And so I take a little video of all the dice that they have, and I send them. And we're waiting, we're just talking, I'm explaining what I'm doing. And I'm looking at these really fancy dice made of minerals like tiger's eye and opalite, whatever opalite is. Don't know how that's different than opal. And they're very pretty dice, very expensive, very pretty dice. And I'm now sending all these pictures back and forth. You want this set? You want this set? What set do you want? Or maybe here's just the less expensive, nice little fancy, pretty acrylic set. And we're going, and at 20 minutes, we're there talking and sending stuff. Then finally at the end, I said, okay, how about this kind of wine colored set? How about that one? That was pretty good. And she was like, "Oh, thank you so much for thinking of me." And that's it. And we waited. And I asked the guys, like, "So do you think this is like, please get that? What do you think?" "I don't know." And then finally, I'm like, "Okay, so do you want this or not?" And she's like, "Nah." And so I've been sitting here chatting with this guy for 20 minutes for absolutely nothing. So don't worry, I bought a set of dice because the dude sat there with me for 20 minutes. But gosh, just one of those moments of this really cool guy just taking the time to sit there while I'm trying to get my friend across the country to figure out what's going on. So you notice 2 out of my 3 so far have to do with someone across the country or the world making me go do stuff for them. And now we're going to come into the third one of those, and that is CGE. Ray from CGE was doing a live stream walking around the con. And I'm sitting there doing whatever it is I'm doing. And suddenly, I start getting texts from Original Don. And I'm looking at it, and it says, "I'm watching the stream. You have to go to this booth, 267 or whatever it is, all the way across the convention. There's a pin, an enamel pin that I have to have. I saw it on this stream." I'm like, all right. So I walk over there. I get the dumb thing, take a picture of it. I'm walking away. And it's like, "Can you go back and take a picture of everything else that they have so I can see what else maybe I want?" So I go back, buy more stuff. Bizarre, but the fact that he was watching someone stream and saw a specific pin that he needed, really, really cool to me. And then the last thing, my last moment, is we all know I love playing Quarter Miracles. It was one of my games of the year a couple years ago. And Lucky Duck Games had a presence there, and all these people I've talked to digitally I actually got to meet in person. One of them was Vince, the president of Lucky Duck Games. And I challenged him. I said, I want to play a game of Quarter Miracles against you. And so we sat down with one of the demoers who just got to play. Didn't actually have a demo. We knew what we were doing for the most part. And I whooped him. I whooped Vince. So I am undefeated against the owner of Lucky Duck Games. So that is amazing to me. Now, welcome back to all the people who skipped all my moments of the con, so I can talk about my top 5 games of the con. These are the games that, for whatever reason, I am the most excited about. They may be something that you can buy right now. It may be something that is coming to Kickstarter sometime soon, or maybe not so soon. And so number 5 is a game from BA Games called Forges of Ravenshire. And this is a game where everyone's playing a Badger Forge Master, and it's a dice placement game that you are placing, the dice determine the power of the ability and what you're going to get. But each turn, what kind of grabbed me was each turn you're going to put a die out, take the action, then pull another die back and take whatever action was there. And then you're going to slot that into your tableau and take yet more actions as you're going through, and you're also building up this tableau. Then the next phase, you're going to do more stuff with those same dice you pulled back. And it just really kind of grabbed me. The 3 actions every single time you do anything, about half of the gameplay, or maybe a third of the gameplay is simultaneous, because after you do the worker placement and pulling back, you have another phase where you just move the dice around your board. And I'm really, really curious about what this game's going to be. I don't know if there's enough meat to the game for the long term. I don't know. I did a quick demo, and then I played a late night game later in the con, which I think the game probably takes about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, but because of all the chatting and BS that was going on, it took us like 3 hours to play. So I'm not fully sure of the experience, and I'm not fully sure if the game has enough meat to it to be something that I want to keep going back to over and over again. However, I'm very intrigued by it, and I definitely want to learn more about it. Hopefully I'll get to preview it, but maybe not. We'll find out, but definitely intrigued by it. Number 4, again, is Lunar Rush, and yes, I'm working with the company on this, and my brother designed the game, so take that for what you will. However, I had a blast not playing the game. I demoed it many times, and I was just and I teamed up with Bree to kind of help her a little bit, but just seeing people's reactions as they would get it. And so what I was doing in most of the demos, the compressed time, we do a turn or two, and then we kind of do a fast forward to the end, and give them a bunch of resources, and they'd upgrade their moon base, and they'd kind of go through it. And just watching it click for people, and watching people say, oh, okay, and then go, oh, it just was really, really cool. So again, really excited about Lunar Rush. I think once people start seeing this, it's gonna really start popping and catching on. I know it's already made it into one YouTuber's best game of the cons list, and I know a podcast has already told me that they are putting it into their games of the con list. We'll see if it actually happens. That's number 4. Number 3, Court of Miracles. Pretty much any con that I get to play Court of Miracles is going to wind up on the list. It's such a great game, and it is a fantastic con game. First time I got to play it at a con, at least a big con. Fantastic con game. Not going to go too much more into it. Number 2 is Septima. This is launching tomorrow from the recording of this, maybe today from the posting of this, on Kickstarter from Mindclash Games. And supposedly, the story is, I guess that's supposedly, that Mindclash told me this, the story is that during the pandemic, none of the Mindclash people's families wanted to play their games with them because they're just too heavy. So they decided to make the Mindclash casual game. And the idea is it's one that you can learn and play at least the base version of the game. There's some additional stuff you can add in 2 hours. So a 2-hour casual game. Mindclash! But it's a game where you are witches, and you are trying to become I believe it is, the head of the coven is going to retire, and witches retire. I guess they have good benefits plans. I don't know. And you're going to take over, and you're trying to see who is going to be the next one. But in kind of a twist on the usual witchiness in games, you're not out there messing people up. You're actually moving about. You're gathering resources from the board, and you're using that to make potions. You're using these potions to either give yourself little rule-breaking boosts or to heal people who are sick. And at the same time, your coven's constantly having people be put on trial, because witches, right? And inquisitors there's inquisitors walking around the board trying to catch your witches and all that stuff. But as you're doing this, you're playing from this set of cards, and these cards give you different action each time. You might be moving, you might be taking some people that are your supporters and getting them on the jury, because witches are always on trial. And so you're trying to save these witches. If you save the witches, you don't get points. And they will actually come and join your own little tableau. It's very, very clever. But what makes this game fascinating to me is card play. Because if you and another player do the same thing, you have a more powerful action. And you pick these things blind. I mean, you can talk about it, but you're more powerful. However, it also raises the awareness of the inquisitors moving about the board, so they're going to come after you more aggressively, because you're showing this witchiness off. And it just, like I said, it's a 2-hour casual game without an entire big board on the side being used. So there's a lot going on. But I will say, right now, this is, to me, the best Mindclash game. I have not played them all. And if you follow the channel for a long time, I actually liked Anachrony quite a bit. I thought it was good. But this one, to me, is one that I'm probably going to wind up backing, because it is exciting. I'm going to try to see if I can get a hold of the TTS and create some more content for that just because I'm very excited. But Septima is very cool. If you like a crunchier Euro, this is definitely one that you need to check out. I'm very, very intrigued by it, and this one's coming very, very soon. And then the number one game for me from Origins 2022 is from Brotherwise Games, Empire's End. The only bad thing I can say about this game is the title. I cannot remember it. The only reason I got it right now is because it's written down right there. There's After the Empire. There's Rise of Empires. There's Empire this. And there's so many Empire games, and I cannot keep it in my head. That's the only thing I got bad to say about this right now. I sat down and played it with Patrick from Level Up Board Game Podcast. We sat down, we played a whole game in 30 minutes. Like a whole game in 30 minutes. This is a new one from John D. Clare. No clear cards. And then we stood up and immediately sat down and played it again, this time at 3 players. And it was really, really cool. And then I went back later and played again with someone else. And I sent Bernie and Brendan from Dead Alive Games. I actually went and I took over one of their demos. I said, I will manage this. Go play this game. It's really, really cool. It is really, really fast, and it is fun. In this game, what you're doing is your empire is falling. They're all falling. All the civilizations are falling. But you're trying to make yours fall the slowest, because you're going to have a board, and on the board, you might occasionally get to take in some income. You know, get your grain, get your swords, or axes, I guess, whatever. And occasionally you get to do some industry where you get to kind of move cards in your civilization tableau around a little bit. But most of the time, disaster after disaster is hitting your empire. And what's going to happen is you're going to be bidding those resources that you have. You don't have a lot. You'll be bidding them out to pass on this disaster to the next empire. Barbarians come, you bribe them away with some grain, or maybe you send them some gold or whatever. And it keeps going around. And all these supplies, these resources start piling up on the card. And at some point, someone's going, you know what? I'm just going to take that. And you literally burn down part of your empire to get these resources. And burning down part of your empire is going to cost you points. But not only do you get all the resources, so you can then bid later on other stuff to maybe make someone else take something that's even worse, you get a special power. So the disaster gives you a power that might get you more points, even though you have to lose points by flipping over your tile and burning your part of this empire to maybe win the game later. It is fascinating. It's been living rent-free in my head the entire con. And so that's my number one, Empire's End from Brotherwise Games. So there you have it, folks. Bit of a longer video. If you attended Origins, let me know down in the comments. What were your best games? Anybody who attended? Have you played any of these games? What do you think? What do you think about them? I know only one of those is one that is available right now in retail, but I think for several of them, you can now or will be able to test them out digitally. If anybody wants to do a playtest of Lunar Rush, let me know. I will set that up. Happy to do that with you. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.